traction stability are still off. Yep, and that was pretty ugly. Hello everyone, my name is Mark, I'm your driver, and today we are going to be going for a drive in this. This is a Kia K4 sedan. It is the EX model, and I'll save you the time. As tested, this one is $29,800. That is less than a base model Corolla hybrid, and it's sized just about like a Camry. And as I shall explain when we get to the interior segment, that is a place you really want to be. Let's take a look at the rear seats first, because this is where I was the most surprised. Now, getting in behind myself at 6'3" is sometimes a little bit of a challenge in these entry-level vehicles, but in this, it is really cavernous back here. So sat behind myself at 6'3", I've got plenty of knee room. Headroom's a little bit tight. If I sledge down to give myself a little bit more headroom, you can see that we do kind of run out of knee room. The one thing I'm not a huge fan of is that I can't really fit my feet all the way under the seat in front. I do have it in a pretty low driving position, but even still, that's not usually a problem I have in other cars. You get rear climate vents in here, which is fantastic. You really don't see this in very many entry-level sedans. You've got two Type-Cs, a little cubby to put some stuff, water bottle holder, no center armrest. Materials back here are a little bit scratchy, but you do have some soft fabric inserts. You've got a nice padded armrest, no piano gloss black plastic. But yeah, just the fact that it's got rear climate control, which doesn't feel like an afterthought. It's nicely damped. It's pretty solid. So rear seats are pretty huge given the class of vehicle. And in the front, this is where things get really, really interesting, because at under $30,000 Canadian, you could argue that this is competing with a base model Corolla hybrid. And for that, you're getting what I imagine is a synthetic leather steering wheel, although it is very high grain and feels very nice with some nice stitching on it, which I think is great. The door cards are just fantastic. They're soft touch up top. How soft are they? We've got our durometer here. So upper door card, about a 65. Armrest, about a 40. So that's nice and soft. Center armrest here, that's a 50. Upper dash, which again is usually pretty hard plastic, is a 75. But yeah, no, this interior is really, really nice. The entire upper dash is soft touch plastic. No gloss black plastic. You've got a little bit of shine here with this dark gray material, but I think it does break up the interior quite nicely. This is also harder plastic, but it is textured, which is great. You've got physical buttons, physical controls. You've got a physical volume knob, and you do have physical buttons in these lower trim cars, as opposed to the climate screen that kind of gets blocked by the steering wheel in the upper end cars like the GT line. We've got lots of different chargers and charging options. You've got a Qi wireless charger here in the center, which does work with my 17 Pro Max very nicely and charges it pretty well, even with a case on it. It doesn't just heat it up. This screen is about as big as I would want it to be in a car of this class. Any bigger, and I think it's just a little bit intrusive. You've got a heated steering wheel, 2 stages of it, 3-stage heated seats on the doors, physical buttons. Really, the only thing you need to use the display for is things like phone mirroring, and it does have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is awesome. We'll reset the trip and we'll see how we do for fuel economy throughout the drive. But yeah, I think it's time to get this on the road, because I think the driving experience is where we might start to find some of where the money was saved, because I just keep coming back to $29,800 for such lovely materials. I mean, that is getting kind of close to something like a Nissan Versa in terms of price here in Canada, or like I said, and have been saying, the Corolla hybrid base model. So our fuel economy is definitely not going to be hybrid impressive, but it should be okay. It's just a 2-liter naturally aspirated Atkinson-cycle 4-cylinder. And I think that is part of where the savings come from, because again, spoiler, it's really not very impressive. What is impressive, however, is just how quiet it is in here. They've done a really, really good job at tuning out. That was a really big bump, and it did a pretty good job with the impact noise there. But yeah, like I was saying, they've done a really good job at isolating everything out of this cabin. You don't really feel the 4-cylinder when you're at a stop. You don't hear it very much when you're driving, just sort of when you're really pushing it, which truthfully does happen quite frequently. But when you're just using it like a normal commuter car, really, you're not hearing four-cylinder rattle, you're not hearing CVT whine. It's a very subdued and comfortable place to be. Okay, getting on the highway, we've got two drive modes. We've got normal and sport. I'll put it in sport, and I can feel the throttle's gotten a little bit more responsive already. You can also shove this into manual mode, where the shifting pattern is the wrong way around, so it's back for downshift instead of forward for downshift. But it is just instant with the response. It is such a responsive little CVT. It's ridiculous. Even on the upshift, it is just lightning fast, which is incredible. We'll stick it back in automatic so you don't have to listen to that for too much longer, but yeah, no, decent amount of power to merge, especially when I am locked in manual mode. Now, if we go for a little bit of a kick down here at around 80 kilometers an hour, we'll see just how responsive this is. So yeah, although it is really fast to respond, the engine itself just does not have the power. It makes 147 horsepower at 6,200 RPM and 130-ish pound-feet of torque at around 4,500 RPM. So you do really need to wring it out to get that performance out of it. And when you do, there is, I'll be honest, there's very little performance to be had. But yeah, just that response is ridiculous. We'll go back into normal mode to kind of compare it. A little bit more delayed, but even still, that is faster than I think most automatic non-performance transmissions out there. It's honestly, it's crazy. I'm a little bit blown away by the CVT in this because it feels pretty good. It doesn't make a ton of noise, and it is almost dual clutch responsive. It's ridiculous how fast this can shuffle through simulated gears. The cruise control system in this is really, really good. I did a commute with it a few days ago, and it was honestly very nearly flawless. It was pretty incredible. Now, if we, so if we throw it into a turn, the stability control gets really upset and just kind of stands on the brakes, which is pretty bad. I don't like that behavior. I kind of thought it was a one-off when I spiritedly drove this the other day, but it seems like once that front axle breaks traction, it just freaks out. It just sticks the ABS on, and that's honestly a little bit scary because it feels like it really unsettles the car. This is a reasonably quiet place to be. The wind noise isn't too bad. You do get a little bit of road noise and a little bit of impact noise over bigger bumps. But I do have to say, as far as the cabin insulation goes, it is very good. A lot of the impacts that do make it through are kind of the deeper, bassier variety that you typically associate, again, with something much more expensive. So it doesn't have that tin can rattly sound to it. It really does have the audible personality of something that is much more sound deadened, much more mature, and doesn't feel like it's completely hollow everywhere. As we get off the highway here, I think we'll go for another little spirited drive to see what that has in store for us. So I think I'm going to start by just switching traction and stability off, and hopefully that'll deal with that really, really grabby traction and stability control system. I haven't felt that in any other car where it just panics. It just freaks out. Like, I've had the Palisade very sideways, and even then the stability control system seems like it's just turning a blind eye. This, oh baby, this is a stickler for sure. We'll stick it back into sport mode, but we'll let the CVT just do its thing. There's really no steering feel, although it is reasonably direct. Yeah, the only communication you have through the steering is through the chassis and through your butt, unfortunately. And yeah, it does have a bit of body roll to it. All right, let's get it through some corners. On the brakes, bit of dive. That's much better with no stability and traction. Although it's not fully off, I just felt an ABS grab. Yeah, the suspension just really is not set up for that. It feels super wallowy. It just feels like the front and rear end are completely disconnected from each other and are just, they're not talking, they're not communicating, and it just doesn't feel very cohesive at all. The steering wheel shape is a bit weird. It's kind of flat on the top and bottom, but it's kind of nice when you can hold on to it like this and turn. I don't know, that might just be me. I'm not super bothered by weird shaped steering wheels, but it's just not made for going fast. In fact, it makes me a little bit uneasy that traction and stability are still active and not particularly helpful. And it's just really not fast. I think it's slower than the Corolla Hybrid, but to figure that out, we're gonna have to do a 0 to 60. This is really not fast, and the Corolla Hybrid is much quicker. Okay, now that we've established that it's really not fast, we'll take it through a couple more corners one more time, just to make absolutely sure. Traction and stability are still off. Yep, and that was pretty ugly. I really do like this thing. The interior is really wonderful. The only complaint I have really is the seats. And they are very comfortable and the fabric is very soft, but on these hot summer days, it is 28 degrees Celsius outside, and these seats just seem to insulate very well, which means a lot of heat gets trapped between my back and the seat itself. I've had to double check that I don't have a heated seat on. They just retain so much heat. It's kind of ridiculous, but the rest of this interior space, other than the weirdly insulating seats, is really nice. The steering wheel shape, it doesn't bother me. I like that it's a 2-spoke. The brakes have been tuned pretty darn well. They have lots of travel. The throttle pedal is incredibly well tuned. It is super smooth. You're able to get perfect limo stops out of this thing, as well as just pull away ever so smoothly, which is great because a lot of these cars with CVTs can sometimes be on the jumpy side right off the line. It rides very well, but as soon as you start to go a little bit quicker, it just completely falls apart in a way that I haven't really felt recently. And yeah, no, you got plenty of space in the front seats, in the rear seats. It's about Camry sized, but Corolla priced. And the interior is, I would almost argue, nicer than both. So yeah, on this trip, we've averaged 7.8 liters per 100 kilometers, which is around 30 miles per gallon, which is pretty good. This has been the Kia K4, and I'll see you guys in the next one.